Some things that you rarely see in real life show up in movies all the time. Non-overlapping dialogue, high schoolers in their 30s, human kindness, and some things that everyone experiences on a near daily basis, like taking a dump, are rarely shown in movies, at least not the kind of movies I tend to watch. The avant-garde director Wim Wenders had an actor do this on camera for Im Lauf der Zeit, and the only reason such a mundane thing is so memorable is because it's something movies almost never show. On the other side of the spectrum, punches to the face are dramatically overrepresented in movies. People from all walks of life get punched in movies a lot. If a non-American watched a random cross-section of American movies, they would get the impression that we never stop punching each other. This, of course, is a silly misconception. Here in America, we shoot each other. One of the first films ever was shot at the behest of Thomas Edison and shows two of his employees squaring off. That's the whole film. Thrilling stuff, but if you look closely, you'll notice that no one gets punched in this movie. As a result, the film was a commercial failure. 2 decades later, Charlie Chaplin corrected this mistake and became the most famous person in the world. The boxing movie was born. Underdog tales proliferated, and in those early decades, there were a ton of these things. I mean a ton. At the same time, boxing would crop up in other genres. In D.W. Griffith's melodrama Broken Blossoms, Lillian Gish's abusive alcoholic father is a prize fighter, and we see 2 of his fights, but the movie is not a boxing movie. It's a movie about getting punched, and in the end, he beats his daughter to death. Which brings us to Raging Bull, Martin Scorsese's masterpiece about the middleweight champion Jake LaMotta, which many cinephiles hold to be the greatest sports film of all time. But in my opinion, the tradition this film belongs to isn't the one that includes Rocky, and Creed, and Rocky II, and Rocky IV, and Creed III. No. Raging Bull is the same type of movie as Broken Blossoms. This isn't a movie about boxing. It's a movie about getting punched. Ask yourself, what makes a sports movie a sports movie? For me, a true sports movie has to do more than simply feature a given sport or have an athlete as its protagonist. Winning and losing has to be of central importance to the plot. In Raging Bull, we are repeatedly shown that winning and losing doesn't matter. Jake outboxes Sugar Ray Robinson, and the judges give Ray the victory anyway. Jake takes a dive for the Mafia and is rewarded with a shot at the title when winning over and over for years got him nowhere. Joey tells Vicky everything will be better once Jake wins the title, but he wins the title and nothing changes. What does matter, and what Scorsese is actually interested in, is violence.
You buying me about a steak, huh? You buying me about a steak?
From just the first 3 scenes, we can extract the conceptual heart of the film. We start with the opening credits appearing over this long, unbroken shot of Jake in the ring shadowboxing in his robe. Slow motion, plangent orchestral strings, it all consolidates a particular popular image of the boxer as a romantic hero who stands alone, proud and strong. He exists in a world of perfect discipline, his practice movements all contained by the frame of the ring, its ropes keeping out the outside world while neatly segmenting and ordering his own. These opening credits present us with the myth which Scorsese is about to take apart piece by piece. The music here actually hints as much. It's a piece from the ironically titled opera Cavalleria Rusticana, or Rustic Chivalry, and it plays in the opera shortly before a man avenges his wife's infidelity by murdering her lover. Our first flash forward immediately dispels the romanticized image of the credits. We see a very different Jake, overweight, washed up, preparing to give a talentless literary performance. When he pauses over the catchphrase, "That's entertainment," repeating it in reverie, We cut back again to Jake in his prime, but now we're not outside the ring, we're in it, transported into the thick of one of Jake's fights. And the beautiful slow-motion shadow boxing has been supplanted by the percussive violence of real boxing. And not only are we in the ring with the violence, when Jake loses, the violence ripples through the audience and back again, with the ring no longer containing or compartmentalizing anything. Even the aspect ratio, switching post-credits to more modern widescreen dimensions, assists the 1-2 punch of these capsule disenchantments. The moving image itself spills out like Jake's gut spills over his waistline and like the violence of the ring spills over the ropes into the crowd. In a sense, Scorsese has already made his essential point. He just hasn't fleshed it out. And so the film goes on to demonstrate with excruciating thoroughness how the ring is not a site of cathartic sublimation or exaltation for Jake like it might be in the spectator's fantasy. It's the one place where Jake's anarchic desire to punch and get punched is allowed full indulgence. And we are shown again and again how the violence in the ring is not separate from, but continuous with the violence outside of it. The only meaningful difference is that outside the ring, there's no bell that can save you. I don't think Scorsese is concerned here with the truism that violence begets more violence, but with the metaphysical fact that violence is inherently transgressive, and the idea that it can be cordoned off and governed by rules is an illusion. By its very nature, violence is antithetical to order, and it ruptures the integrity of any closed system, the nuclear family as much as the human body. I think this insight underlies Scorsese's many lingering close-ups of blood spurting from open wounds on fighters' faces. The instability introduced by violence pervades the whole movie. You never know when a physical threat is sincere or not, whether a peace offering has truly been accepted, or when a seemingly everyday interaction could erupt into a scene of savagery.
Good friends, we can straighten this out. Right? Huh? Right? Nothing going on?
Jake's ultimate low comes when he's thrown into a jail cell and he breaks down as he punches the wall over and over. He's not boxing, he's just punching, and his aggression and remaining strength isn't being channeled into something higher, something inspiring and beautiful like in those opening credits. It just rebounds on him and hurts him, epitomizing what we've already seen throughout the film, his pattern of projecting violence outward that ends in self-destruction. Two of his despairing cries in this scene are instructive.
Why?
It's a suitably large and unanswerable question. Does he mean, why did things turn out this way? Or, why am I the way I am? Both work, since the movie doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain him, explain the violence, draw a cause and effect. It just is. And to his second cry, I'm not that bad, we might ask, how bad? It's hard to measure or quantify anything because the movie doesn't try to set anything it shows us relative to anything else. Again, it just is. For me, much of the film's greatness lies in Scorsese's refusal to do what convention demands. He refuses to give a causal account of his characters. He refuses to allow any kind of comfortable distance or perspective, and though he brilliantly aestheticizes violence, he refuses to glorify it. The film ends with Jake shadowboxing again, completing the arc the film traces from the mythical harmless hero to the real abusive bruiser to the real harmless failure. The monologue preceding these punches reveals Jake to be as delusional and self-pitying as ever, and he cuts a pathetic figure here. But we can't wish him stronger and back in his prime, because we've witnessed in the most visceral fashion how his strength brought nothing but pain to him and everyone around him. That's not entertainment. Scorsese's attitude toward the spectator who craves violence is best reflected in the sickening shot of blood spattering across onlookers' faces when Jake gets demolished by Sugar Ray. In a cinematic landscape teeming with punches that excite us, punches that make us laugh, punches that make us cheer, Raging Bull is a brave movie that sets out to make violence of any kind impossible to enjoy.